and who? Manchester United versus Liverpool. What? Premier League. Where? Old Trafford, Manchester. When? Sunday, May 3 at 3:30 p.m, 14:30. How to follow? We'll have all the build-up on Al Jazeera Sport from 11:30 GMT in advance of our live text commentary stream. Manchester United host old rivals Liverpool for a game that could prove crucial in the battle for Champions League qualification. And a centuries-old Buddha statue stolen from a Nepali temple has been reinstalled in its original location, one of several artifacts returned from foreign museums and collectors in recent years. The statue, dating to the 13th century, was carried in a palanquin back to its pagoda-style temple in the capital, Kathmandu, to the sound of traditional music on Friday. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says some pro-Palestine marches could be banned and people who use the phrase "globalise the intifada" could be prosecuted. In an interview broadcast by the BBC on Saturday, Starmer advocated for tighter language restrictions at pro-Palestine marches, adding that in some cases rallies could be prohibited altogether.
The government of Punjab has launched the country's first virtual women's police station to improve access to justice and make it easier for women to report harassment and seek protection. The initiative, based in Lahore, is part of broader efforts to enhance women's safety in both public and private spaces through digital tools and faster response systems. Pakistan marked a significant shift in its maritime operations as the first fully transshipment cargo vessel arrived at Karachi Port Trust, expanding the country's role in regional trade. The vessel MV Erlin carried a mix of general cargo, bulk and breakbulk goods, along with vehicles, signaling a move beyond traditional container-based transshipment.
Karachi is expected to witness severe heat on Saturday, with weather experts warning that the city could record one of its hottest days of the season. According to meteorologists, the heat remained intense on Friday as well, when the real field temperature climbed to 49 degrees Celsius. The discomfort continued into the night due to still air and persistent humidity, leaving residents to endure muggy conditions.
Nvidia, AMD and Intel dominate the graphics card market, but a new challenger from China may be able to compete for the first time ever. Chinese GPU maker Lisuan Tech has officially received Microsoft Windows Hardware Quality Labs WHQL certification for its 6nm graphics cards, according to reports. The Higher Education Commission has introduced a new online system for degree attestation, eliminating the need for applicants to visit its offices in person. The digital platform came into effect on May 1 and allows users to submit degree verification requests entirely online, marking a major step towards streamlining administrative services.
And the Pakistan Meteorological Department, PMD, on Saturday issued an alert for glacial lake outburst floods in the upper regions of the country, including Gilgit-Baltistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And as a result of an expected westerly wave this weekend, a GLOF refers to the sudden release of water and debris from a glacial lake, leading to the loss of lives, property and livelihoods in mountain communities. Over 7 and 1 million people in GB and KP are vulnerable to the phenomenon, according to the Ministry of Climate Change. And United States President Donald Trump's administration has bypassed congressional review to approve military sales totaling over $8.6 billion to Middle Eastern allies Israel, Qatar, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates, UAE. The State Department announcements on Friday came as the US and Israel's war against Iran marked 9 weeks since its start and more than 3 weeks since a fragile ceasefire came into effect.
In a twist fit for a heartwarming family movie, Karachi's Kitabgarh Public Library has been rescued from imminent closure by generous online patrons. The library's management posted an appeal for funds on Tuesday, announcing that they would be shutting down as a hike in rent had made running the venue unaffordable and that they needed Rs 500,000 for relocation.
And the United States Embassy in London has issued a security alert telling its citizens in the United Kingdom to be cautious after the British government raised the national threat level to severe. The embassy advised citizens on Friday to remain alert in public places and to stay away from schools, churches, tourist locations and transportation hubs.
The top-seeded Detroit Pistons recovered from the brink of elimination with an astounding comeback against Orlando, while the Los Angeles Lakers finally saw off Houston at the third time of asking in the NBA playoffs. The Pistons' come-from-behind win on Friday took their series with the Magic to a decisive Game 7, while the Toronto Raptors also set up a decider against Cleveland thanks to an overtime thriller triumph.
United States President Donald Trump has voiced frustration with Iran's latest peace proposal, saying they're asking for things I can't agree to and cautioning against ending the conflict too early, only for tensions to resurface in 3 more years. At the same time, Washington has warned that ships paying tolls or fees to Iran to transit the Strait of Hormuz could face U.S. sanctions, signaling a tougher stance on maritime activity linked to Tehran.
China's ambassador to the United Nations, Fu Kong, has said there is a need to re-examine the UN Security Council's decision to terminate the mandate of the long-standing peacekeeping mission in Lebanon, which is due to end later this year. Speaking to reporters on Friday at the UN headquarters in New York, Ambassador Fu expressed China's deep concern about the situation in Lebanon as Beijing assumed the Council's rotating presidency for May. Uber has a long-term ambition that goes well beyond shuttling passengers. The company eventually wants to outfit its human drivers' cars with sensors to soak up real-world data for autonomous vehicle AV companies and potentially other companies training AI models on physical world scenarios. Praveen Nepali-Nagar, Uber's chief technology officer, revealed the plan in an interview at TechCrunch's Strictly VC event in San Francisco on Thursday night, describing it as a natural extension of a nascent program the company announced in late January called AV Labs.
And the completion timeline for the Rawalpindi Ring Road has been extended, with the project now expected to be finished between May 30 and June 30 due to delays in the construction of the Thalian interchange linking it to the motorway network. The delay is attributed to the upgrade of the Thalian interchange into a broad-based facility, which has increased both the scope and cost of the project. And global analytics firm Newzoo has released its latest monthly report, offering a closer look at which major game releases in March 2026 generated the most engagement and revenue. The data showcases which titles are leading the charts in the first quarter of the year. As expected, Crimson Desert, Pokémon Pokopia and Resident Evil Requiem have emerged as the top performers.
As celebrations are underway, marking the completion of 1 year since the Service of Public Relations released a special song titled Chai Tufan Andion Ki Tra. The song was sung by Wajid Said and Raptor and released by ISPA as part of the pre-campaign for Marka Ihak.
Apple's iPhone 20, expected to be released in 2027, may be the company's most expensive smartphone to date, putting it out of reach for millions. This is because Apple is preparing a major design shift with the iPhone 20, introducing a display approach the company has not used before. The device is expected to feature a quad-curved screen paired with Apple's liquid glass user interface, creating a seamless visual effect that gives the impression of a bezel-less design.
And actors created with artificial intelligence will not be eligible for an Oscar, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences said on Friday as it launched a crackdown on the use of AI. New rules include a requirement that only real, live human performers and not their AI avatars are eligible for the film world's biggest prizes, and screenplays must have been penned by a person rather than a chatbot.
At first glance, Shah Passan seems like a typical drama reminiscent of an older Karachi, a tree-lined neighborhood where everybody knows each other and interferes with each other's lives. Although such neighborhoods may not be as prominent as they used to be, they can still be found. The titular character of the drama is Farasat, played convincingly by Nauman Ijaz. Roughly translated as someone who is mischievous or meddling, the term Sharperson barely does justice to Farasat, because he is much more than that. He is intrusive, calculating, dishonest, and manipulative. A man who interferes, schemes, and consistently causes more damage than good, all under the guise of someone who is moralistic and religious. He is married to Ruby Nadia Afghan and has 3 children, 2 daughters and a son, 2 of whom are reflections of.
More than 2 months into a conflict that has failed to deliver a decisive military or diplomatic win, United States President Donald Trump faces the risk that a standoff with Iran will drag on indefinitely and leave an even bigger problem for the US and the world than before he launched the war. With both sides outwardly confident they hold the upper hand and their positions far apart, there is no obvious off-ramp in sight, even as Iran submitted a fresh proposal to restart negotiations. Trump quickly rejected it on Friday.
6 months after finally giving birth to her first child, following a years-long struggle to conceive, Chrissy Walters was told her daughter would likely grow up without her. Walters had suffered a major bleed while at home in Toowoomba, a small city 2 hours inland of Brisbane, and several hospital visits, doctor appointments and biopsies later, the then 39-year-old was handed an advanced cervical cancer diagnosis.
The world's 10 richest individuals saw their combined wealth rise to $2.7 trillion as of May, $260 billion in a single month amid a strong rally in US equity markets, according to Forbes. The surge was driven by gains in major indices, with the S&P 500 rising 9% and the Nasdaq jumping 15%, boosting the fortunes of top billionaires, all of whom are based in the United States. Washington. The United States on Friday imposed sanctions on a Chinese oil terminal as part of a slew of new measures on Iran, as it warned of repercussions for ships paying tolls demanded by Tehran. The new measures come amid a standstill in diplomacy after Trump halted US-Israeli attacks against Iran and were announced just 2 weeks before Trump visits China, a key customer for Iran's oil.
And a new documentary series based on hours of previously unreleased recordings made by Diana, the late Princess of Wales, is in the works. Producers on Thursday. Diana, The Unheard Truth, set for release in 2027, 30 years after her death in a Paris car crash, promises to tell the story of the people's princess in her own words.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered the withdrawal of about 5,000 troops from Germany the next year, the Pentagon said on Friday, in the latest rift in transatlantic ties over the Mideast war. The move came as US President Donald Trump announced that tariffs on cars and trucks from the European Union will increase to 25% next week, accusing the bloc of not complying with a trade deal inked last summer.
The Cuban government has firmly rejected new sanctions levied by United States President Donald Trump, calling them unilateral coercive measures intended to impose collective punishment on the Cuban people. In a post on social media on Friday, Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez said that these measures are extraterritorial in nature and violate the United Nations Charter, while further asserting that the US has no right whatsoever to impose measures against Cuba or against third countries or entities.
And Karachi, the Sindh High Court SHC, has summoned the establishment secretary for not implementing its earlier orders about the proforma promotion of a BS-21 customs officer to BS-22. A 2-judge constitutional bench of the SHC, headed by Justice Adnan Ul-Karim Memon, also directed the secretary to satisfy it as to why contempt proceedings may not be initiated against him.